Today we're going to talk about DataMates, AI teammates that are going to help us engineers. And I'm really excited for this because as an engineer, AI is a super important topic. I have today Pradnesh and Andrew here from Altimate AI, and they're going to tell us what their product is about and what the idea behind it is. So let me bring them in. Hey guys.
Andrew. Yeah, yes.
Welcome. Yeah,
Yeah, super
welcome,
excited
welcome.
to be here. And just,
Yeah, thanks. We talked a bit about, okay, before that, we talked a bit about the whole topic and why it's so important, and also where you're coming from an idea. Uh, can you give us a bit of an introduction into what you're doing, into Ultimate AI? I think you prepared some slides for this, right?
yeah, yes, absolutely. Maybe Andrew, do you want to go first and then I can introduce myself?
Yeah, so my name is Andrew. I've been doing data stuff for the last about 13 years. I'm a solution architect here at Ultimate AI, started a couple months ago. Yeah, but previous working at places like DoorDash, favorite place actually was I was working on autonomous delivery robot data. And so part of my work was actually chasing robots and then calculating the time it takes for them to do their routes or whatever. So, but yeah, now I'm here as a solution architect, and yeah, that's me.
Nice. Oh, okay. That's it. That sounds very interesting. I've seen the videos on X where these things go haywire and drive everywhere.
Yeah, so that's scary when that happens. But luckily for me, never no accidents on my watch. So not my
Nice.
data. Pradesh?
Okay, maybe I can go next. Hi
Sure.
everyone, name is Pradnesh, based out of San Francisco Bay Area here. Worked in the area in the tech industry for many, many years. Did engineering, product management, for big enterprise companies like Palo Alto Networks, Cisco. Have seen a lot of issues when data comes in, AI comes in, etc. Last couple of years have been working at Ultimate AI. Started the company as a founder and with my friend. And since then, we have been, sitting there scratching our heads trying to figure out, hey, how we can use AI to automate a bunch of these work that happens in the industry. And very excited to tell you more about that.
Yeah, it's automating the work. I think it's a super important topic because as an engineer, especially the stuff that is, let's say, boring, that you don't want to do all the time, that's something that where AI can really shine, right? And
Yeah,
an AI
absolutely.
teammate can really help. Yeah. By the way, I already see a comment in the chat. Will we get the recording? This, of course, will stay up on YouTube and as well as on LinkedIn. So, of course, the recording will be here. Let us know your questions in the chat. We're going to answer all of them. This is not going to be just a theoretical thing, right? Andrew and Pranesh, they're going to show us hands on how to use AI teammates or data mates. And yeah, exciting, exciting. Let us know what you think. Yeah. Where do we want to start? Do we want to start with like the typical problems that we have?
Yeah,
What
we
do
can
you want to
start
Um,
get
there.
into?
Yeah, so I actually talk about like how I got to the company a little bit and why that matters is because Pranesh reached out to me. I really wasn't looking for any moves, but when him and the founders told me their vision, I could see that this is the next thing that kind of takes data engineering to the next level for me. There's a bunch of stuff that they automate that could be like 20, 30, 40% of my job actually. And that's not necessarily a bad thing because it isn't actually automating the parts that matter. It's all the boilerplate stuff. It's the testing, it's the documentation and those kind of things that, we spent a lot of time because they're important, but they may not be actually moving the bottom line for the company. So that's like kind of why I'm here, and those problem space that we'll kind of go through today.
Hmm.
And Andrew, spot on. Maybe this is a good segue. I can pull up a couple of slides that we prepared also to talk about what we are seeing in the industry and what we have experimented with a little bit as well.
Mhm.
Um, so, we have been thinking about how we can use AI. We even use the AI to, generate our portrait pics. Being an engineer, it's always a hassle to take pictures and sitting in front of camera, and we use AI even for that. So we'll talk, as I was saying, a little bit about how AI can help in the data engineering space, what we are seeing across the industry, introduce you to a little bit of a DataMates as well, and of course, demos. We have a couple of demos prepared for you today, and we'll share some resources with you. It's like a free solution. You can sign up and start using it for your work as well.
Mm.
To give you a bit of a context on Ultimate AI, like myself, like Andrew, we have amazing team at Ultimate AI, which has been working on these hard problems. People who have backgrounds from like Amazon, Google, work for data companies like Snowflake, etc., Walmart Labs, and we started looking at this whole AI wave even when initial GPT models started coming in, even before ChatGPT started thinking about like, hey, what can we do here? A lot of times we heard things about, hey, my data is never enough tested, or as an engineer, I cringe whenever somebody tells me to write some documentation about column and table and maybe keep our uh, internal pages up to date, etc.
Mm.
And over the course of last couple of years, we got an opportunity to talk with thousands of people who are doing data work, and they have been trying out multiple things on how to use AI to sort of enable it for doing data work as well. Now, what we are seeing is based on these thousands of conversation is recently certain industry trends, that are happening. For example, as LLMs are now growing in that modularity, more and more users and teams are looking at, hey, how I can extract more value from my documents, images, and videos also using AI model. So what can I do basically with the unstructured data?
Mm.
And yes, I know you talk with a bunch of people as well. Are you seeing that pattern also around unstructured data?
Yeah, absolutely. One thing I like here is that you have actually unstructured data there, like documents, images. Very often people say, ah, yeah, I'm working with unstructured data, but when you look closely, it's in a JSON format or something. So it's still not really unstructured. It's still a structured
Yeah,
data
yes,
data source.
yes,
But yeah,
yes.
it's absolutely.
And there are a bunch of different approaches people are taking there also, how we can convert like unstructured into structured and then do something on it rather than just dealing with unstructured data natively. Other
Mm.
thing we are seeing is this whole AI and acceleration wave is is accelerating the prototyping part of it. Usually just getting the first version off the ground of even simple data pipelines or model in much harder problem used to take a lot of time. Now, delivery cycles, what we are seeing for technical as well as business users, are shortening very rapidly. We all have heard of vibe coding, and then it's not just the vibe coding, vibe workflow automation and vibe prototyping. That's what we are seeing there, like very accelerated prototyping, and that's reducing feedback cycles also in by and large.
Yeah. This topic is something I would say engineers that have a lot of experience with certain tools, they do that already because they have their templates that they just copy over and over and over again. And you can actually then this enhance this even more for the use case, right?
Yeah, yeah. There are templates, and now AI is smart enough which can suck in those templates as knowledge, right? And sort of put out dynamic things also for you very rapidly because not every project is sort of similar. Yes, sometimes structure can be similar, but there's still nuances, etc. Where we are seeing like a lot of people exploring, yeah, how I can make AI itself smarter to sort of code like me or work like me so that my specific things get embedded in that. A lot of people are thinking about it and a lot of people are experimenting around that as well.
Hmm.
And, and third big industry trend, as you said, and it's right in the beginning, a lot of the mundane, some other drudgery like around documentation. Hey, I hate writing tests. I enjoy writing pipelines, but I hate writing tests. That kind of thing we are also seeing getting automated very rapidly. So when the even the initial versions when they get delivered, they come with all those bells and whistles like documentation, tests, enrich metadata around it, leading to right from the get go out of the door much better improved experience for people, especially the consumers and business users, etc. Everything is nicely documented. There are guardrails in place. Traditionally we used to evolve to that point by version 3, version 4, etc. But
Hmm.
even the initial versions and prototypes we are seeing getting built by this because the amount of effort needed for it has reduced significantly in this process.
Yeah, I think that is something that is super important. When I look back at my development time, you always have this process where, okay, you have your features, you need to develop them in certain amount of time, and that amount of time or that will get very close to the end, and then usually at the end is the time to document everything, and then somebody else comes in and you need to do something additional, and then the documentation falls right off the
Yes.
cliff at the end. And I
Yes,
think
yes.
that's where AI really helps us. Tests,
I find that I find
documentation.
that kind of funny because when you talk about documentation and tests and those kind of things, a lot of times those are just table stakes for the business stakeholder. Like that needs to happen for me to access the data because I can't query anything if I don't understand the context of this data. And we had some questions in the chat, but I like to see that like with these new tools, like this time that we used to spend maybe 30% of our time doing these table stake things that like, maybe our engineering managers, like you're not building new features. We can now focus on those new feature kind of things versus having to do these table stakes things. So
Mm. And there's also, yeah, you mentioned the question here. One question here was already, and that fits to that. Can I use AI to automate like data dictionary creation? These kind of things. Right? A
Yeah.
data mate that you send, okay, look at this and give me the dictionary for this.
Absolutely, absolutely. So you can utilize AI for data dictionary creation and later use that created dictionary to get some more work done also. And it's a iterative process, like how we usually do as human engineers, like data dictionary. It's not like click of a button and it will get created for you. The important thing is how much of information you can feed to AI to sort of create that data dictionary, right? How much of a context you can feed about your data stack, your other knowledge, whether it's distributed in Confluence pages or Google Documents, etc. Based on that, the quality of work is going to be there.
Hmm. Yeah, I
And
think we have. Yeah, I'm sorry.
go ahead, Andreas, you're saying something.
I think we also we want to discuss this later how to get that context in as well, right?
Yes, yes, absolutely. That's a very important piece, and in the demo we are going to show you. And even with that, if you try to just hook in things, sometimes it faces bunch of challenges also. If you try to just use AI without much of a context or addressing some of the, right material for that AI. Maybe Andrew, you can touch on that. You and I, we have met with so many users who talked about those challenges as well.
yeah, no, I think especially in the data space, like I know it's different a little bit in software versus data, but in the data space, a lot of times when you have maybe you're writing SQL or Python and trying to like edit a model, a DBT model, for instance. Sometimes you'll just say, hey, look at my code base, rewrite this model for me, build me this new KPI, build me this artifact or whatever. And without like that context of like the metadata behind your data, like your data dictionaries, your column level lineage, those kind of things, when it tries to code it out, it will actually do stuff like it'll write a SQL query with a table that doesn't exist, with columns that don't exist in that table, and those kind of things. And then you're kind of having to rework those over and over again. So yeah.
No, absolutely, absolutely. Or, some other challenges like that. You want AI to do something specific, and it is going in a completely different direction, and you're thinking in your head, only if it could follow my cookbook, for example, if you're in a debugging situation, etc. So we're going to also show you today like how you can feed your cookbooks, etc., to get some debugging done, for example, in systems like Airflow, etc. as well.
Mm.
Now, maybe one quick thing I can flash on the screen here from some other slides we prepared is how we have addressed those challenges as well, right? For example, this is probably if you go to our website, you'll see it there as well. But we build these teammates, AI teammates, to address some of the challenges we talked about when you use AI to get your work, etc. Sometimes it's challenging to get the work done what you want. Sometimes tribal knowledge is missing, or it's very hard to get curated info from your data stack, all that metadata information, and feed it into AI. Now, how we are approaching this problem is we build these AI teams, literally in a sense, which are sort of expand your team by having these AI teams, which can get some of these tasks done for you, like whether it's a documentation, whether it's tests, whether it's debugging. And these teammates, like how you, me, Andreas, Andrew, like how you use these different tools. These are integrated in the tooling, so can be used with say Cursor, GitHub Copilot, Client. Talk with your Git, talk with your Slack teams, use your Jira. So very integrated in the tooling. We are pulling in the context from the data stack as well, like your usual ELT, warehouse, BI layers, etc. And these teammates are next to you. You can assign the task to them and they will get the work done for you. And when I say they get the work done for you, they will do the work like you, with the help of your knowledge bases, with the help of memories. Also, there is a way we have implemented in the product where these teammates can be coached by human engineers also, just in plain English. Like imagine new intern joined to your team and you need to wrap them up and coach them and make them productive. Same thing with the AI teammates. You can make them productive by giving them instructions in natural language also and sort of tune them so they would just work like you. So these are the
Interesting.
pieces we'll show you in the demo as well.
I mean, the interesting part here for me is how do you get that information in, right? Like coachable by human teammates. How do you coach this? Because are you then going in and you're basically typing it in, or do you have some sort of a repository with your knowledge, or with the usual, like you said, like a cookbook? And
Yeah, no, there are multiple ways. So of course there is a repository of knowledge where you can feed in your cookbooks and your things, best practices, as well as it will get connected into your metadata that is coming from the your data stack. Plus, you can just tell it like how you would tell people on your team, hey, when you do this next time, do it this way. For example, when you document this table or column, make sure you cover this information. So you can just tell in English as well, plain English, and it comes with the memory, like a human brain, and it will remember that. And next time when it does that job, it will follow those instructions. Or you can just send
oh,
it
okay,
again. Hey, go do it again because you haven't delivered in your first try. Let's try again. And hey, here are some instructions. Go follow it.
Just like a
that's
real
nice.
engineer, you tell them you didn't do it right the first time, just do it again. But
Nice.
actually, one of
Yep.
mine, and like Pradnesh, what you mentioned about like the giving them instructions. One of the things I like to do whenever I code anything with like an AI agent is always adding a footprint somewhere. So maybe I have like my agent who writes a Jira ticket or comments in a Jira ticket or even writes code, and I always leave like add a memory for you to always leave a little comment somewhere that says like this was generated by this AI agent, so that you can always tag and know what's human and what's not sometimes. So
True. That makes sense. I think one of the things, like the topic that you have, or that the system has a memory, is super important, because we all work with ChatGPT on some stuff like document generation or whatever ideas that we have. And how often does it happen that it doesn't remember stuff that you have already like said? You said, I always want it this way, and the next time it's again wrong because it
Yeah,
doesn't have
yeah.
real memory. That's super important.
Yeah, and Andreas, we have even challenges at the basic level. Like if you use something like ChatGPT in that single in for that particular user. Now think about this in the context of the team. Like usually
Hmm.
there is a team level knowledge and tribal level knowledge. What a principal engineer knows, like a lot of times, it's very hard to get that communicated to your intern, right? So this
Yeah.
system of AI teammates, it's like a hive mind. It will have a shared team memory, which can be used by different teammates to get their work done as well. And
Hmm.
um, it's maybe in future humans can benefit from that memory also and learn from there. Hey, what exactly my other principal engineer is thinking? It's always hard to get those things translated to.
True.
Um, and with this acceleration and automation thing, sky is the limit. Like there can be so many things automated. Working with our users, we have automated few of them, but we want really the people who are on this webinar and people who are visiting these resources, etc. Try it out and see what else you can automate in your day-to-day work. We have some examples. Maybe Andrew, you want to talk about few of those examples, etc.
Yeah. Let me pull that up real quick. So actually, Pranesh, I will pull up our DataMates platform real fast and kind of talk through how these examples look like real
No,
fast.
just a list of the different examples I can pull it up for you.
Okay, yeah, go
Like
for it.
the list we prepared. Yeah, go ahead, go for it.
Yeah.
Yeah, so kind of talking through this list a bit. A couple weeks ago, me and Pranesh, we did the dreaded Snowflake Databricks back-to-back conferences in SF. So, it was like basically 10 days of no windows talking to at the bottom of this convention hall, we had over 500 engineers come through at that time. And, they would come by our booth and ask us, like, what is this? What is DataMates? So we got a lot of these ideas from them and kind of reaffirmed the ones we already have done. But we actually have got over 100 different types of tasks that we kind of think through. And they kind of fall into three different buckets, like data pipelining, infrastructure management, and workload migrations. So these are all like tasks that, with various levels of AI assistance, you can accelerate and make these tasks move faster. So, and the common theme across all these tasks, like at the bottom, is that AI can accelerate each of these tasks in some fashion. So,
True.
Yeah, and they
Pipelines.
cut across the ecosystem, like what users have been automating, whether it's Spark, whether it's Airflow, whether it's DBT, or on infrastructure like Snowflake, Databricks. There are a bunch of warehouses out there, or even the new things like moving semantic layers between tools. Right? Snowflake recently announced this semantic views, so how we can start utilizing that more, etc. People are trying to automate some things around that as well, and always the migrations, etc., is a big challenge for people.
Hmm.
Um, with that, maybe we can jump into the demos. I think, are we?
Um, I have one question. Like in this, I see here infrastructure management because that is something nowadays we're moving to infrastructure as code, right? And I'm guessing this is where this whole topic comes in, right? That we have our infrastructure already deployed as code, and through the AI teammate, you can optimize the infrastructure configuration. Or
So there
do
are,
I understand that?
Andreas, like few nuances there, right? You have your infrastructure as a code to deploy the infrastructure initially, right? And then, especially in the data space, your data workload is always changing, right? Sometimes in the morning you have batch workloads, later you have ad hoc queries and stuff. And ideally, your infrastructure needs to adapt to it. So one of the AI teammates we have, it can adjust the data infra configurations completely autonomously, gets interfaced with the warehouse and adjust those configurations. Or second
Yeah.
side, like the consumption of that configuration, like all of us, we write queries and do the configurations, and depending on whether we are more on the data analyst side, or whether more we are on the data engineering side, a lot of times, that optimizing queries and stuff takes a lot of time. You have to read through the query profiles or query plans, figure out what needs to be done. You know, AI for the rescue there. It can analyze all that information, look at other things also beyond the infrastructure, and tell you exactly, hey, how you should optimize this query or how you should change this configuration.
Hmm. Interesting. Wow.
Or even the mundane platform tasks like, hey, create warehouse, give access to that warehouse for few users, and then change some of my policies as per the new project. Usually people have templates for that. We touched on a little bit of a template. You feed in template to an AI teammate and it can automate some of those things also for you.
Wow. There is a question before we move on. There was a question regarding the previous slide. Why can I bring this up? 1 sec.
This one?
Somehow. No. Here, my. Yeah, I think we talked about this. Somebody said, I'd argue internal documentation offers the highest business value. Like, how do you see this? Madison, thanks for the comment.
I think actually, like when I hear that, I think kind of think back to product teams because a lot of times, like a product team, they want to explore the data that's being delivered by the analytics or the data engineers to understand how the product's functioning, especially like in a SaaS company or any kind of business. And without knowing like the actual how to query that data, there's not really a good way for them to understand how to shape that data for the presentations or like steer the product moving forward. So I think that yeah.
Yeah. What else? Because there was another question regarding data quality. I don't know if we come to this. How AI is used towards better data quality and automated corrective data profiling. I guess this is also something an AI teammate could do, right? A DataMate.
Andrew, do you want to take that one?
Yeah, I mean, currently in our current implementation of DataMates, like we haven't touched upon this piece, but you know, within other parts of our product line, we have. And so we have another like autonomous agents within Snowflake warehouses, for instance, and they'll look at all your query histories and they'll tell you whether, you know, how to structure your queries better to make sure you're not hitting all these unused columns. One of actually my favorite Snowflake ones was it will actually tell you, hey, you've been running this ETL for every day for 90 days, and someone hasn't read this table like once every 6 months, maybe. So maybe you should cut this off or convert this to like a monthly batch or something. And you know, things like that like are a little harder to query for. Yes, you can create a query for that, but it's easier just to have like an agent kind of tell you like this is where the opportunity to save money instantly is. So
yeah, I think we underestimate how good this works because the I'm going to from now on I'm just going to call it DataMate. The DataMate is going to be able to get all these metrics, get all this information where a person needs to look at this service and log in and look at this and go here and go there and go there and it can basically draw everything in at once, right?
Yeah. And I guess there was a question on the data quality there earlier, like what we can do. So, for data quality, um, doing a data profiling and then writing data tests based on that is very important, right? And these AI teammates can write data tests for you in different ecosystems, whether it's DBT, you want to write tests using packages like utils, expectations, etc. Or you just want to write tests for your Airflow DAX, for example, so that you have some guardrails in place. Absolutely, you can automate that work and take the quality posture to much higher level. We have seen people who went from single digit test coverage, etc., to 80% plus test coverage within the span of just a couple of weeks because you can automate all this stuff using AI and generate tests in bulk based on data profile, etc.
Crazy.
But you have to be careful. You have to review it because each data test can cost you money in the warehouse as well. So be careful. Don't let AI run wild there. Review those tests and cut which are not unnecessary as well.
Yeah, of course, it makes sense. So you need somebody in the loop who actually checks
Yes.
that. Yeah.
So it's your teammate. You have to work with them. Like sometimes it can work completely autonomously for certain tasks, but not for everything. So depending on what you're trying to do, be in loop with your teammate.
Yeah, just like with humans. Right?
Yes, yes.
you shouldn't just like auto approve pull requests here and there, you know. So you want to review the code, give feedback, and you know, treat it like a normal teammate.
Makes sense.
Yes.
Makes sense.
Yeah, Andrew, I think you have a demo prepared for that. I think it covers that test piece also. Why don't you pull it up and we can start diving into demos?
Yeah, that would be
Yeah.
great. Let's look into the demo part and let's check it out.
Cool. Let me go ahead and pull this up real fast. Okay. So for our first demo, we're going to talk through this piece of for like debugging and migrating PySpark pipelines to dbt. And in this demo, we'll also kind of walk through our database platform a little bit to show how we set this up. We'll talk about how to use the AI agent to plan your knowledge, plan out your entire migration, and implement those code changes. And kind of stepping back from that, the scenario is that a growing data team is handing off PySpark jobs from data engineering to analytics engineering, and our AE team wants to translate these from like that PySpark to SQL and maintain them in dbt. And so we'll show how that works. But this is a pretty common scenario if you think about it. Like everyone has done data migrations in the past. And when you think of these data migrations, there's those typical pain points. You have your starting team, your new team working on it. So there's differences in technology and skill sets. There's documentations for different places as well, and there's a lot of context switching between the systems.
Mhm.
So I mean, I'm sure Andres, you've had these kind of migrations in the past at work.
Yeah, well, me not, because I worked with PySpark, but I haven't worked with dbt. So this came out a bit after I went full time into the education market. So I haven't done exactly this job, but I can see that this is a problem you want to solve very quickly and well, right?
Yeah, no. And so like actually talking through that first challenge of like the disconnect between teams and documentation, I can now segue into showing off our UI and like how we kind of approach that piece. Pradnesh, is there anything else that you wanted to mention before we go there? Or
No, classic use case. The pipeline was managed by data engineering in Spark previously, and now with the dbt coming in, analytics engineers want to move some of that work into dbt and how you can make it super smooth.
Let's see.
okay, we'll switch to the screen fast. So first off, you heard us mention the phrase DataMates a couple times in this call, and this is kind of the entry UI into that DataMate platform. So this is our Ultimate AI platform. We have other things here, but we're really focusing here on our DataMates. So what you're seeing here actually is our UI where you can create and curate your own database to fit your stack and your use cases. So what you're seeing here is that the entire team, people have been creating different datamate here and there. This one is an Airflow test creation datamate. Mine is a migration datamate here. And when you look into what they look like, you have these features such as memory, integrations, and guardrails. And when we started talking about this in the beginning, we talked about pulling that knowledge and context back from your full stack, but also you talked about that memory piece, right? So like how do we train and coach our datamates to do the work that we want to do for them? So, and that's kind of what you're seeing right here. So,
But
yeah.
that's a clever way of doing it. Of course, you create basically a data made for the individual jobs, and everybody on the team can then train this mate and can actually benefit from the others using it and training it. And that's okay. I haven't seen, for everybody on the chat, of course, on the stream, I haven't seen this as well. So, okay,
Yeah.
cool.
No, and what's really exciting is like, so, like when I first was starting here, the MCP wave came real quick in the beginning. And so I was actually making these demos for MCP servers, and they were super stressful actually, because, sometimes they don't do what you want them to do. So you're trying to do a live demo, and then all of a sudden, instead of editing your SQL script, it's now changing your project config file or trying to refactor your entire code base because the connection wasn't working. And so, yeah, this memory piece is super important there. But yeah, so this is basically making it easier for end users to go in, configure their datamate, configure their AI teammate easily, and then make it accessible in their code editor.
Can I quickly join in? Because there was one question I specifically not mentioned it before. Like the context is with MCP servers, right? Was somebody asking before? Isn't it interesting that when this came out, everybody was talking about MCP servers and this and that, but they were not really thinking about the products which we see here, right? The real solution. It was just like the technology and everybody was hyped about it. But there was this part missing that we're talking about right now.
Yeah, I think you hit that. I know that's really like when I think about that too, is like if you go online and you look around people writing blogs about MCP, it's always about the setup. I have to set up all these different integrations. I have to, make these configuration changes and stuff. And so what we have done here is packaged all that here to make it lower the barrier of entry for analysts, engineers, all those kind of personas to be able to use this with their coding assistants easier. So
Makes absolute sense.
yeah.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I didn't want to.
No, yeah.
hold you.
I'll go ahead. So I'll real quick flash over to what this actually looks like in your like editor, right? So we created these DataMates. This one again is this migration DataMates for Databricks, dbt, Jira. That's the one that I'll be demoing today. And when you go into something like your cursor, after you have it installed already, basically our VS Code extension that works for anything that's VS Code based, you'll see, let me show this request. At the bottom, you'll see this little thing that pops up that says, for me, it says migrate datamate here.
Mm-hmm.
And when you open that up, you can actually see like, let me see all the datamates that I have. So clicking through there, these are all the datamates that we saw in that UI earlier. So we're seeing like the webinar datamate, we're seeing my migration Databricks, datamate for Databricks, and those kind of things. And you can actually now change their configurations too. So these are all the integrations that we have for this datamate. We have Databricks, Jira, and dbt for that. And now these tools are all accessible to your coding environment via the MCP. So, yeah. And I think, so this is kind of talking through like how you actually interact with it. So now when you're in your cursor chat, you can always reference, you don't have to reference the datamate, but it now knows to have these tools available. So, and yeah, anything you want to touch on with this, Pradnesh, or any thoughts here?
No, I think nothing specific. You covered it well.
Awesome. And Andras, I think so. We talked about the other two pieces: the knowledge and the memory, right? And so in that database, I had enabled memory. So in this platform, you actually can see the history of all the memory that has happened for all these different datamates. So this is telling me in this one that this datamate that I created called Databricks dbt Jira agent, I specified certain things to code like me. Basically saying stuff like when I create dbt models, I don't want to have tests right now for MART models. In the future, maybe I'll turn that off or change that. And you can always edit these memories here. But then, yeah, this shared memory catalog gets built up over time with all the different datamates and all your different teams using it to kind of make like that like almost hybrid datamate for everybody. So, yeah.
Okay, cool. So you could go in here and could you change something, or can you just like delete it?
So in here, you can just delete it for now, but eventually you can change it. But basically in Cursor or whatever your coding editor, you can just explicitly say, next time you can say something like, next time you do this action, do X, Y, and Z beforehand, or don't do X, Y, Z beforehand, and that will actually store that to memory. Yeah. And when we talked in the beginning also about the whole the knowledge piece, right? So this is the last thing I'll show in the UI before going into the full demo, but this is our knowledge hub here. So how this works here is that within your company, you may have best practices, you may have cookbooks, you may have even KPIs out there that's very specific to your business. These aren't just like generic like DBT best practices. These are how your company operates and stuff. So for instance, this first one, our company is called Obsidian E-commerce. I've created this knowledge base. It's basically here are specific KPIs that are related to our business. So now I can actually take these KPIs and take this documentation and surface it to my coding agents in like a Cursor or a GitHub Copilot. And where this is awesome to me is like this is one, it's portable to any kind of coding editor, but also it's shareable across entire teams. So like I can create this once, edit it over time. Pradnesh can use it for his agent coding and those kind of things.
So could you basically also say the company has a specific style guide for the code that gets generated, and you put this in here, and then your cursor will then automatically create this Or
Yeah, so we actually have one right here where we created like PySpark standards, right? So
uh,
this is kind of how our company does PySpark. So what we have this all broken up. It's a pretty long document, but it goes into detail of like how do we do data frames and SQL optimizations? What about memory management configuration? And when you go down to the bottom, you'll see all those documentations. So
mhm.
and
Wow.
if your company doesn't actually have those like to start off with, we give the ability where you can fork them off other places and then edit and make them your own. So
The system also comes with some other templates, etc., that people can just fork around, say, best practices around Airflow or DBT, etc. We give some templates, but of course you can connect your documents with links or just copy paste as well.
Mhm.
yeah. So I'll actually show like how. So I went over a bunch real quick, but like how does this all like fit together, especially with this migration story that we were talking about. So in Cursor, let me change this real fast. How would you actually update, access all these things? So in Cursor, we have this whole this prompt right here. This is like the agent prompt, and because we have made all these tools available within from our DataMates that we had with the extension, it's able to access these tools that we have. But also we have uploaded these documentations here. So like in this example, I'm trying to plan a migration from PySpark to DPT. I'm asking to use the best practices from our best practices stocks that we've created, and I want to actually see what that migration plan looks like.
Mhm.
So I ran this ahead of time, but this is what this will look like. So what the outcome of that is, it will create a migration project plan for you. It will tell you based upon the current structure of the project, because this is how our things are currently structured. It will tell you when we move it to the target structure, based upon our best practices for migration, please follow this kind of outline so that make sure the code lays correctly that way. And it even goes down into talking about the different phases of the migration plans and build out documentation for that. So looking through technical considerations, those kind of things.
Okay, so that you know basically before it goes and it does the migration, what exactly am I going to get, and you can tweak this if there's stuff that isn't right.
Exactly. Yeah. So that's like that way you can make it the way you want it to be. And then what I actually did for the following step of this was actually take this migration and I put that all in Jira. And I did that by actually asking the agent to create Jira tickets related to this whole migration plan. Um, so it makes those calls to Jira, writes those tickets as descriptions.
Mhm. And so the next step here is then just telling it, okay, do it.
Yeah, just do it. So
Just do it.
yeah, I'll show real quick actually what that looked like for the Jira piece. But so after I did the migration piece, it created all these Jira tickets here. So it created an epic called PySpark to DBT migration. It told you like I have actually added our best practice of how to write Jira tickets too to make sure you follow this flow, problem, business value, dependencies, and then also create all the different subtasks for this migration piece.
Mhm.
And like with a migration, it's not a one-shot thing. You definitely want to take it from an iterative approach. So we would go through these tickets and these descriptions to make sure that they're aligned, and then the whole like just do it is the next piece. So what we actually go back in Cursor, and I'll pull that one up real fast.
Okay, then you would then say, okay, now I have these tickets. Let's focus on this one, and then on demo 10 or demo 7, and then you do the migration for this part.
Exactly. Yeah.
Ah,
Yeah. So you're not like
nice.
you don't want to just like go ahead and one shot it the whole thing. Let's just actually follow the migration plan. So let's see. I'll pull this one real quick. So I created this in the prompt. I added this thing that says implement Jira ticket demo 10. Explain your steps, then create the DBT files in the ticket following PySpark DBT best practices, and then refactor them. So actually, I'll do 12, but So let me run this. So this first thing that's happening is called Jira get issues. This is actually a tool that we supply from the DataMates side. It's pulling in the issue information about it. It's asking you, like, looking at, oh, it moves a little fast, but we'll try to slow it down in a second. But so yeah, it's pulling this issue here. It's saying we're doing from demo 12. That's the name of the ticket. And the next thing it's doing is when we talk about the whole getting context from your project, is actually looking at your DBT project to understand like the actual all the metadata, the lineage before actually writing any SQL or doing a test. Yeah. Oh, and I guess it created documentation, like a mermaid diagram for you as well. Like so you can see the flow of the data. So staging customers, staging orders. Because this one was to make out these like mark customer and mark lifetime value segments here.
Mm-hmm.
Again, here it's calling some more tools. It's now looking at, it wants to know what the columns are of the queries before it builds them. So it's like looking at these staging customers first. And I think this is what I was alluding to before was like sometimes when you have your coding editors or coding assistants go in and just go, they don't actually know how to pull back the context of your data stack to know what the previous columns of the dependent tables are and stuff. So, and this is now like kind of where now it's with all this context, it's trying to build these new models and put them in the right places. And then as it writes it, it'll eventually start putting all the documentation, the tests together, and then testing out the code itself. So, yeah.
Okay. Wow. Huh.
Yeah, so just feed your Jira tickets. It will help you create those Jira tickets also based on what your project is. Do step by step and just stay with it. It works right in your coding assistant. We're showing you cursor. It works with GitHub Copilot, Client. There are a few of those out there. Basically, it can supercharge your coding assistant to do data work much better, much better, much better.
Yeah, because with these assistants, they lack the context, right? They lack the context, and also they lack the like that you see exactly what they're doing. Now here you see every step, right?
Yeah,
And you can
yeah.
check every step.
Exactly. So what's kind of cool that happened just now was, I wrote this SQL and, I did this really fast. And obviously when you're working with a coding assistant, you need to do due diligence and like review all the code. But things that I could see at the top of my head when I see this was like adding this in DBT is not a normal practice for everybody, but this is specific to our company. We always add this config file at the top of the SQL file. So we can see that's doing that. What's also interesting is that these are just prompts, but is that it also created this schema file to give you that documentation piece. I know we had in the comments that someone asked about like, what about documentation and tests? But by knowing the context of your stack, knowing that KPI documentation knowledge hub that I shared as well for our company, it's writing all these different descriptions and tests. So
Nice.
Andrew, maybe in the interest of time, we should switch to other thing also, and
yeah,
show the airflow pieces as well.
yeah, we can do that.
So I'm going to start with showing the most familiar screen for, I'm sure for many people on this call is, your Airflow DAG screen, right? You have something like this, and this is my demo environment. It's much more complex, right? You have some DAGs running fine, but you might have some DAGs which are failing also, right? And your nightly builds have failed and stuff, and you're trying to figure out what exactly happened and when can somebody get to it and get these DAX fixed. We put those recipes out there long back. Now I need to get those fixed, etc. Very very typical job that we do in our airflow environments, etc. Now for that, what we have done is uh, we have built airflow debugger, right? So it's super simple. Go in, name the teammate, and you can basically sign up for it for free with our website, and you can choose some other templates also, but I'm just going to do the airflow debugger again. I always hate these descriptions where you can put some description there, and you can choose a bunch of different tools. Like for example, I want to
Pradesh,
do.
can you zoom in a bit
Oh,
on the
sure.
website?
Let's see. Is this better?
Yes. Yes.
Okay. So I just put earlier name and description, and then for that particular teammate, you can choose different tools like Airflow, Jira, and a bunch of other tools we support, including custom API, etc. You specify your guardrails, right? So accidentally through user prompts, nothing sensitive goes in there, and just create your datamate. Once you create that datamate, it will start showing up here, like this one I created. I'm going to
Mhm.
use that to, this figure out like what exactly is happening here. And what I have done already is I have fed some of the Airflow cookbook already that we have internally. Like when you see these issues, how you should fix it. So that
Okay.
document is there. I have fed it already. Now, what you do is I'm going to show you in my cursor. I have my repository for Airflow DAGs open. And here, as Andrew was showing you, you just choose your AI teammate that you want to use for this task. Okay.
By the way,
Then,
I just want to say these type of cookbooks and these types of repositories. If this happens, then do this. I've done this a lot. Like
yes,
for the team. Like okay, everybody, now let's create a document, and when we find problems that we think they are happening often, or we know they're happening often, let's just list this down for if somebody is on the night shift and the problem occurs, just look at the document and do
yeah.
Don't
that.
wake me up, kind of thing. Yeah.
Yeah, true.
And not just your knowledge bases. I'm not sure if you noticed when I asked cursor to fix it, it through that AI teammate, it called for memory also to check, hey, whether I have fixed similar issue like this before.
Mm.
All of us, we have seen so many cookbooks where sometimes instructions are not also perfect, and you need to get those updated and do
True.
some things, change some things on the fly. And that's where the memory is for rescue. If somebody has fixed that same issue maybe 3 days ago, it will have it in memory also. So not always you need to have that complete thing in perfect cookbooks as well. Now, what it is doing is it is looking through those airflow diagrams. It's calling that task instance also to figure out what exactly the issue and where it is failing, etc. So now it has found out by talking with my instance, hey, that asset one producer tag that I was showing you earlier, it has failed. Well, there are a few failed runs, right?
Mhm.
It has figured that out by talking with Airflow. It is now getting log to understand like, hey, exactly why it has failed. So, the things that we used to do as sometimes, um, engineers who are on there to support production environment, it is doing the same thing, looking through the logs, using that knowledge base, seeing what might have gone wrong,
Nice.
and trying to figure it out. It's also looking at now that code, that Python code for Airflow DAG. Okay, it read through the cookbook, it is looking at the code, it read through the logs. So as you can see, I have identified the issue. There is an issue line that it has figured out, hey, this line is problematic. Now let me figure out, there is a division by zero error there that is happening there because some of the data pieces. Now, based on cookbook, it figured out, hey, I need to add proper error handling that was missing and add the safety function also for me there. So, and then based on this, it suggested ready-made code changes for me in my Airflow tag.
Mhm.
Now, for me to accept this, standard process, I can just get it accepted. And now I need to test it out. Okay, it suggested some code. We need to test it out. You can just run the tool here. It will run the DAG and test it out also to make sure whatever it has done, it's accurate as well. And as Andrew was saying, sometimes the tasks are complex. Even fixing things like this, it can go through multiple iteration till it finds the right fix, like how we would do as humans as well.
Mm.
And now it's
Well,
telling me some runs are now successful. It ran that directly. So the fix that has been applied is correct.
But you could also, if you, as an experienced developer, if you look at the fix that it's trying to do and you see, okay, this will not work, then you could tell, okay, this, I think
roll
this
Absolutely.
will
back at
not work.
roll back a
Yeah,
checkpoint, basically.
yeah.
Yeah.
You can roll back, or even then, usual sometimes instinct is let me fix this myself. But the best approach is you tell that data mate that, hey, this is where you have made the mistake. It's like coaching your intern. Don't jump in and try to do if they mess up, right? Tell them how to be a better team member, and then it will
Mm.
remember it in memory. And next time it will do the right job for you. So as you can see, that error was fixed. I just triggered, let me zoom in a little bit. I just triggered another run, and now the next run is successful. So, I don't have to do anything. Just take a prompt, get up in the morning, just give it, hey, fix my nightly airflow runs, which might have gone haywire. And by and large, it fixes a lot of those issues.
Wow.
Yes, big pain point for people. I think a lot of people have seen this pain of maintaining and fixing airflow DAGs. You can automate large chunk of it with this
Yeah.
system.
And wait, Pranesh, can you go back to the cursor window real fast? I want to show
Yeah,
something
sure.
too. So you see on the side, all these like tools that are being called for Airflow, like things that what really makes this product a lot more, for me, a differentiator is actually the multitude of different tool calls. So you can add the Jira tool call in here, the Slack tool call, and you can say like, before you start working on this problem, add a comment in Jira to say like, hey, let's do this first, and then add another comment when you finish it, make a pull request, those kind of things. Because when you're on call at night and triaging these issues, you have like 20 windows open of all these different systems that you're trying to use. But now it's all here together. So you can focus on the code and have these like boilerplate tasks that you need to do along that piece happen here too. So
Hmm.
And then, folks, we showed you a couple of demos, etc., around PySpark, Airflow, and dbt. But you can automate hundreds of tasks. Like it's not limited to just those ecosystems. These are some of the resources, etc. There is a documentation link we'll share with you afterwards on how to use this system and more examples of the tasks you can automate. And this is a free system. Just go to our website, Ultimate AI, sign up, start using it. The entire thing we have shown you today should be available for you, and you can just start trying it out, try it out for your own task, and share your feedback with us as well as comments on the event, like what you got automated, and share it with us. And if you're trying to do something custom, that maybe you're having hard time to do it, system is really powerful. We are pretty sure we can make it happen for you. Just book time with us for some custom use cases, and we can help you, turn knobs here and there and get it going for you as well.
Yeah. I have put all these links in the description of the video here on LinkedIn and on YouTube as well. So they're already up, and you can just go in the description, click on it, and check it out. Yeah, guys. I
Awesome.
mean, I'm I'm not easy to impress, and I'm always a bit negative, but I really like this. This would have helped me so much when I think back, because even the part that it it gets the logs straight out of the system
yeah,
and analyzes the logs and tries to figure out what's going on. Usually what you have to do is you need to go in, you need to find the right job, find the right logs, download the logs, look at the logs, figure out what's going on. And then if we think of the AI typical workload, then you would go on to a tool and you would ask, okay, what's the problem here actually? So there are multiple steps that this actually takes away,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
that a data mate can actually help and write Jira tickets and save you time of writing the Jira tickets and then be annoyed because somebody else writes the tickets in a way where you say, okay, now I have a ticket, but I don't understand what's in it. It's
Yes.
terrible.
Yeah, and a lot of times, the tickets in the past were written just for humans and with a lot of details missing. The system can write tickets for AI to consume as well with the right information, right structure, etc. That another AI teammate can consume and take work from there as well.
Yeah, true, true. Yeah, super cool. Um, I need to watch this stream back.
Of course,
I need
of
to
course.
watch this again.
And same offer for you also, Andreas. Try to automate some of your custom tasks, and you run into issues. Let us know, and we can do a quick Zoom or something and get you rolled up there.
Yeah,
Give
book
you
time with
basics.
us.
That's a great idea. That's a great idea.
Yes.
I'm going to look into that. Yeah, thanks. Thanks a lot.
Yeah,
Again,
thanks, Andreas. Thanks so much for having us. It's a pleasure to show you what we have been working on and how this system can be used for a lot of folks here on the webinar.
yeah, I'm excited to
Yeah,
hear more
thanks.
from you. And yeah, again, everybody, the links are in the description. Check them out. Get in touch with Pradnesh and Andrew on LinkedIn as well. Yeah, thanks again.
Okay,
Guys.
awesome.
See you
Thank
next
you.
time.
Have a great day.
Have a great day. Bye, everybody.